Well, here we have a lovely challenge for you. Okay, so what we have is, this is an intersection of solidus question where we had to figure out all the missing parts here in the elevation. Okay, the plan is complete, that's fine. And you're going to see a nice little diagram here of what the object is like, just if you need to help visualize it. You know, we've got these two big pillars here, which are there and there. All right, and then we've got this little kind of, I guess, part of a wall with an apex on it, a little pointy top to it. So that's the top there. You can see the top there, and these two sides are the lower bits. Now, what we need to do is do these ones along with an end view. Okay, elevation, plan, and end view. I'm going to put my end view over here. In these questions, you have a choice, and honestly, I just sort of like looking at it this way to see it there. I think it'll be slightly easier to work with, but there's not much in it. It also means I'm not going to get confused over this information here. It's in blue, it's only information, it's not necessarily an end view, okay? Although part of that will be in our end view. Now, this question is very nice because, first of all, we have a couple of puzzles, like how are we going to draw this bit of the wall. That'll be interesting. We have a limited amount of information, so we're going to have to project between the views. That's a very important skill. And finally, we're going to have a nice little challenge working with our hidden lines. Okay, so for our elevation, we're going to look at it this way. And you can see there's a whole load of pieces here and here and here, there, that are all hidden. Some are in this, some are not. Right, so we do know it's 120 high. It's got to be line in the middle of the page will work fine for us. So we'll put our XY in the middle of the page. There we go. And let's see, where can we start? So we're not given a total width, which is a bit of a nuisance. Okay, so we can't start there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. Okay, now why here? Well, I can measure my 20 mil down. That way I know I'm not, if I start here, for example, I could run the risk of going over the XY. So I'll come down by 20 mil, pick a point, and then I can do all of this nicely on my 45-degree set square. All right, so let's go and get that set up. It doesn't really matter where it is. Remember, we're putting our end view on this side, so I'll go fairly far over here. And we'll pick our point there. Now, I'm going to leave this from 100 mil from the edge of the page. So that 100 millimeters from the edge of the page should give me loads of room, give or take 100 millimeters, to fit my drawing in. So now, let's see how we get on. We'll draw a construction line down, and this little one across. I often find it's a bit easier to do the construction line and measure, although people have their opinions and feelings on this one. If it works for you, it works. Happy days. So there's a little mark there. Now, I do need to check that I'm still fully on camera, and we're looking good here. And we'll project across here, and that's going to be 35. And we'll project down. So again, we'll just mark that off there. Now this one, I can see from the plan that this is going to be fully heavy, so I can actually heavy this guy in. I'll have to extend this construction line a little bit. Now just a little comment on corners. I do want you guys to try and get a good clean corner. Alright, it shouldn't overlap. Now sometimes when I'm doing these in the videos, I will make an exaggerated little mark here to show where I'm getting the measurement from, just so you guys can see what's going on. For your own drawings, this should be much more subtle and much neater. Okay, so just keep a little bit of an eye on that as we go. Right, what do we know? Well, this middle bit's going to be kind of weird for the moment. I'll just extend my XY here. And we can send some of these guys up. There we go, we can project that up, and let's just check we have our 120. This is actually a fairly big drawing. There we are. There's my 120, and again, I'm just going to mark that by doing a heavy line down. I can see the top of it. And we can send this as a construction line right across the top. Okay, so there is the full range of our page. Look at that, sitting beautifully on camera. We'll scoot over here a small bit. Okay, those lines may not look perfectly parallel. It's actually the tilt of the camera, but it's rather hard to get it perfect. Okay, so I can send these guys up as constructions. I'm not going to worry about what's hidden or visible yet, but we'll just send them up as little construction lines. Okay, and some of them we can see there. We'll know what they'll be. Now, But this one, I guess, it is kind of clear, so we'll stick it in as a heavy line. All right, and that's the heavy top of it. So again, my preference usually is to heavy in what's really obvious and clear. I can see that those ones are heavy. This one there and across the top from the elevation. Okay, if they're incomplete, see the way these float in space? That's an incomplete line. All right, that is complete though. Okay, so we got that done. Where could we go next? We have sort of some information here. The next bit we'd obviously like to go is the connection, but we don't know where along this is. So that's a bit of a problem to solve. So the way I do is I work through what other information do I use? I can use that, that, and that. What about this 190? Well, look at that. Tip to the tip is 190. That's fine, I can work with that. So we'll project this guy right across here. We'll measure 190, which we can just get with our 45. There we are. Now, and let's see, can we bring this up by 80? Now, just a small little tip, what you can do here, guys, is you can actually project straight across, if you wish. That's the way of measuring the 80. And again, we'll do the same with the 35s. And you'll pick them up like this. So this one, like the first edge, is going to be fully heavy as we look down on it. Now, so those little tips like projecting, it just saves you a little bit of hassle and time. You might like measuring them, but if time is your enemy, think very carefully about using them. Now, what we'll do is we will bring this up here. And this is going to fit just on the page. Now that's actually quite tight. As you can see, it's going right to the edge of my page. So I will make a little bit of note in the very beginning to start this a little bit further to the left, but it's going to fit. So what we'll do is we'll project this guy up here. All right, and again, we can see from the drawing given that that's a heavy line. All right, that's a heavy line. We're also going to see that this one is heavy, which makes sense because as I look at the elevation this way, I definitely see in this edge. So put that in as a heavy line, and we'll put in the far edge here. Okay, so we can see a bit what's going on. And I also just want to pop my end view in place, the initial parts of it. So again, we'll project up from the edge here. End view is actually fairly small, which is just as well because we really don't have a lot of space on this page. Okay, so it does come up there. Extend our XY even further than we thought necessary. And we'll bring the other edge of the end view, which is this piece here. And we'll send that up. Now we don't have information on what our end view looks like, so we're going to have to begin to figure this out ourselves. Now let's just make sure we got everything happily on camera. Brilliant. It's a giant. Now, what else do we know? Well, I can project this guy up as construction. All right, and if we're getting stuck, let's go and stick in a few of our hidden lines. You know, so we're not leaving it all to the end. We'll get the easy stuff that we can see. So that's obviously a hidden line. When I say obviously, it's in the drawing. So even in the given elevation, I'm just going to readjust here slightly. And I'll show you why it's obviously a hidden line, even if they didn't say it to you once I finish it off. Nice even gaps and spaces. As I look up at this, all my intersection stuff and the weird bits are going to be in there. This guy's clear of them. So it's fine. It's off on its own. It's behind the hidden edge. All right. Now, let's see, can we do anything with our end view? Well, remember my end view, I'm going to look this way. Okay, in from the left, I'm going to see the plan there, I'm going to see the elevation there. So I'm going to see this surface and this surface. Everything else will be hidden. So I can put in these three lines, I know everything else is going to be hidden, we'll have to worry about that afterwards. So let's get the bottom one. That's fine, that's this guy here. Again, the reason I'm doing this is just to help make the drawing begin to make sense. Okay, you don't have to see this at the beginning. It's a terrible line, you guys can do better. But you do need to be able to see it eventually. Well, it's helpful if you can see it eventually. Actually, you can get away a lot without seeing it. But it's our goal. So we'll bring this one up here, and that is also going to be a heavy line. So that's this edge, right across and up. And this one. Easier to draw this like that. Okay, so we have that in place. Now, what else do we know? So we've used that, we've used that, we've used that, we've used everything in the every measurement in the plan. There might be other hints there too. We use a 120. So we have this little guy here. So this is the wall. Now, what do we know about the wall? The problem is we don't know where the wall is, up and down. That's a bit of a challenge. So we're going to try and find, there must be some point that's located. So I'll have a look around and see what points do we have. I mean, as we look down at this one, all of these points, they're hitting a vertical face. So that's why we can't see cleanly where they're going to go, but we don't have any information where it is. Similarly with that, but this one is on the edge. Now, which means that this line is actually straight across, so I can draw that. And it's the top, so it's going to be heavy. So I can draw in that. That's the tip of it. Across, up, okay, and it's actually going to be along here. So now I can measure out my 95. And I can see where the top of it is. Which is going to be there. Again, it's a little bit exaggerated. Yours will be far more subtle and elegant. And I can say that the 95 comes back over this way. So we'll do it as a construction for the moment, because we need to figure out where it is. But look what we know. We know where that point is. And you'll see it's directly up. Okay, it's going to be right there. So I can actually heavy in this. I'll do it this way. Now, I often don't do this in my own drawings, but I'm just going to pop this in for the moment so you can see what we know. Okay, I don't like leaving incomplete lines because it's hard to join them up. But you'll see where we're going. That was kind of handy. All right, we have that. So what can we know about the bottom line? The bottom line is really 2. It's the front and back edge of this. They're just behind each other. No information about where they are along this here. But we do know that it's 20 wide. Long dash, long short means it's a center line. That means it's symmetrical. So 10 at each side. Right. Now let's have a little look at this. So line it up there. 10 each side. How high is that? That's 80 high. So I'm going to just measure up along 80 here. And I'll just come out. Actually, no, I'm going to send the construction line right across because I'll use that line. So now what I can do is I can measure this up. Now this is a hidden line. Okay, it's behind this guy. So a little bit annoying, but we'll just pop it in as a hidden line. And we'll do exactly the same over here. You don't have to draw the construction line underneath it. Sometimes it's useful. In this case, it's not too big a deal. Let's try and keep it nice and even. And of course, these two connect to each other. They are also hidden, so pop them in as hidden lines. And remember, that's one of our little practice bits for today. I want to make sure we're working nicely with hidden lines. They're never mega marks, but they're potentially easier marks. All right, so I'm looking from there, I see this guy. Well, what can I do next? I can bring that back. So let's send it back down. Remember, this projecting back and forth between views is how you really take your drawing to the next stage. Okay, if you're still thinking of them as 3 separate drawings, you're really going to run into trouble. There we go. And we can see from the plan that those are heavy, which kind of makes sense because as we look down, You know, so they're heavy here and here, that's great. But also as we look down at the wall, we see the edges on both sides. So that's one, and here's the other. So now we're really going places. Okay, trying to avoid going over the edges like that. I actually fell into the hole of a compass. I left my compass in a previous drawing on the other side. There we go. Okay, now we're getting places. So as you can see, we have 3 problems here in the elevation to solve. Where do each of these lines meet? Well, turns out we know where they meet. Let's start here. It meets at that point, which means the point it meets in the elevation is straight up from it. And it's there. It's there because that's where the edge is. So we're combining 2 pieces of information. We know the height of that lower edge, and we know where it is in terms of like left to right in the plan. Straight up there. And the other one is directly behind it, so they're going to be symmetrical, so we don't need to worry about that. All right, let's go find the other end of it. Exactly the same technique. Find it in plan and send it up. So there it is. So that, from there to there, is the lower front edge of the little wall. Okay, and that of course connects to the top edge there. I can't connect this because I don't know where the top of it is yet, but look, there it is in plan, straight up. I can see it there. It's this face, so it must be up here. I know it's 95 high, the top, so it's there. So now we can connect this piece. So you can see, once you can work your way through the views, what looks like a rather messy, awkward drawing actually becomes pretty straightforward. Now what we'll be able to realize is that this is of course an edge that goes the whole way down. You see the edges here? So we do need to draw these in there and there. Just go over heavy on them. It's another terrible line. You can see it's the edges there and there. So use the real 3D view, set your T-square up better than I did, and get a lovely clean line. There we are. Right, so we're nearly done. Now the last little bit is actually tricky. It's sort of a good deal harder than some of the rest of the drawing, you may think, but it's worth having a look at. Okay, it's of course the hidden lines. So if we work across this way, I can see that one was hidden. I can see that. I can see this, and this is hidden directly behind it. They're okay if badly drawn. I can see that edge there, and that's directly behind it. So we're all good until we kind of get to this point. Moving across here, I can see this and I can see this. They're there. And this one is directly behind this. You can see there, 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 and there. So that's okay. I get to here. That's hidden. Okay. So it's visible when it comes over the top, as you'd imagine. And then it's hidden behind. And with hidden lines, it's really good to go back through, just kind of systematically through your drawing. Don't get too stressed about finding them all as you're doing it initially, but just check at the end. Okay, well, what's next? Now, the next thing we're going to see is actually here, this back edge, and we don't have this yet. So we're going to find it just the same way we did before. It comes up like this, all right, to that height, but of course, it's tucked in there behind. Remember, I'm looking this way to see the plan. So we have to put that in as hidden. And this is probably the hardest part of the drawing because it's both an intersection and a hidden intersection at that. There we go. And of course that edge connects to the top, also hidden, so we can pop this in here. Grand. The back edge, that was hidden. We've forgotten that guy. That's the kind of one we could have spotted in the beginning. We didn't. We were kind of focused on getting the drawing set up. It's not a big deal. We just got to make sure we go back and tidy up. Yeah, we get fairly bored at drawing all these dashed lines by the end, but it is good practice. So as we move across, we've got this guy. That was visible. That was visible. Visible, visible, visible. And we're done. Nice little drawing. Good challenge. Okay. Working way through both the hidden lines and finding these intersections here.